This channel talks about movies in slow, clear English to help you practice your English listening comprehension. What if the strangest, most frightening place in the world wasn't a haunted house or a graveyard, but an empty office building that never seems to end? Let's talk about Backrooms. Let's start with the story. Clark owns a small furniture store, and one day, almost by accident, he finds a door in the back of his shop that shouldn't be there. Behind it isn't a storage room. It's an endless maze of yellow, empty office spaces, stretching on with no clear end. Nobody knows exactly how long Clark could have been missing before anyone realized something was wrong, since the film deliberately leaves the timeline vague at the start. Notice could have been missing. We use this modal form when we're guessing about something in the past, without being completely certain. Clark's therapist, Dr. Mary Klein, becomes convinced something serious must have happened to him, especially once his store is found abandoned with no explanation. Must have happened is a strong, confident guess about the past. We use must have when the evidence makes something feel almost certain, even without direct proof. Searching for answers, Mary starts investigating the space Clark disappeared into, and eventually finds her own way into the backrooms herself. From here, the film becomes as much about her unraveling grip on reality as it is about finding Clark. Inside, the rules of normal space and time don't seem to apply. Rooms repeat. Hallways loop back on themselves. And the lighting, flickering fluorescent tubes, never quite goes out and never quite feels reliable either. Mary isn't alone in there. Other people are trapped in the backrooms too, some of whom have clearly been there for a very long time. And she has to work out who might have been telling the truth about what they've seen, and who might have been changed by the place itself. Might have been telling the truth and might have been changed are both speculative modals. We use might have when something is possible, but we genuinely don't know for sure. That uncertainty is really the whole emotional engine of the film. As Mary goes deeper, she encounters strange, hostile entities that seem to exist only within these shifting rooms. Creatures that may have evolved specifically to survive in a space with no natural laws of its own. May have evolved works the same way as might have, here expressing a real possibility rather than a confirmed fact. The film builds tension, less through jump scares and more through pure dread. The constant feeling that something is deeply wrong with a space that should, on the surface, look completely mundane. An empty office corridor becomes one of the most unsettling settings imaginable, purely through lighting, sound design, and pacing. Eventually, Mary does find Clark, but by that point in the story, both of them have been changed by their time in the backrooms in ways that aren't fully explained. Whether the version of Clark she finds could have been trusted completely is left deliberately unclear. The ending itself is intentionally ambiguous. Without spoiling exactly how it plays out, the film never fully confirms how much of what we've seen actually happened, how much time has really passed, or whether Mary and Clark's escape means what it appears to mean. Viewers are left to decide for themselves what must have been real and what might only have existed inside the backroom's distorted version of reality. Now, let's talk about how this story is told. Kane Parsons directs with an eye clearly shaped by his original online found footage videos. Long, quiet, static shots of empty rooms that let unease build slowly, rather than relying on constant action. Much of the horror comes from stillness and repetition, rather than obvious threats. The film also structures itself around two parallel psychological unravelings: Clark's and Mary's, rather than a single, clear hero's journey, which is part of why critics have praised its atmosphere, while some audiences have found the lack of firm answers frustrating. Alongside our grammar focus, this episode also has 5 vocabulary words for you, all pulled directly from how critics and fans actually describe this film, and the horror subgenre it belongs to. Our first word is liminal. Liminal describes an in-between space, somewhere that isn't quite one place or another, like an empty hallway, an abandoned office, or a hotel corridor at 3 a.m. The Backrooms is the ultimate example of a liminal space, and the word is used constantly in reviews of this film. Our second word is disorient. To disorient someone means to make them lose their sense of direction, time, or reality. The film's looping, repeating rooms are specifically designed to disorient both the characters and the audience watching them. Our third word is entity. An entity is a being or thing that exists, often used when we don't know exactly what something is. Critics frequently use this word to describe the strange creatures Mary encounters, since the film never fully explains what they actually are. Our fourth word is surreal. Surreal describes something that feels dreamlike, strange, and not quite like normal reality, often in an unsettling way. Many reviews describe the film's atmosphere as deeply surreal, precisely because it takes an ordinary setting and makes it feel completely wrong. Our fifth and final word is dread. Dread is a strong feeling of fear or anxiety about something that hasn't happened yet. Rather than relying on sudden shocks, this film is built almost entirely around a slow, constant sense of dread. Now, let's talk about how Backrooms has actually been received since its release in cinemas in May 2026. Critically, the response has been strong. The film holds a certified fresh score of 88% on Rotten Tomatoes from over 230 reviews, with critics like Owen Gleiberman and Amy Nicholson specifically praising its atmosphere and commitment to pure, sustained unease over cheap scares. Audience reception has been more divided, particularly around the ending. Some viewers have said the ambiguity is exactly what made the film linger with them, while others have said they wanted at least some of their questions to have been answered by the credits, and felt frustrated that they weren't. Part of what makes the online discussion around this film interesting is its origin story. The Backrooms concept didn't start as a movie at all. It began years earlier as an anonymous internet image described as a liminal space, which eventually inspired Kane Parsons, working online as Kane Pixels, to create a series of viral found footage videos, long before any studio was involved. That grassroots, internet-first history is a huge part of why horror fans in particular have been so invested in whether the full-length film could have lived up to the original concept. Online, discussion tends to focus on a few recurring topics. Whether the film successfully translates an internet horror concept into a satisfying full-length story, debates over what the ending actually means, and comparisons to Kane Parsons' original short-form videos from fans who followed the project from its very beginning. Even among viewers who disagree about the ending, there's broad agreement that the film's atmosphere and sound design are genuinely unsettling in a way that's hard to shake off. Let's go through the speculative modal verbs from this video. We use must have plus a past participle when we're very confident about something in the past, based on strong evidence. For example, something must have happened to him. We use might have or may have, when something is possible, but we're not certain. For example, he might have been telling the truth, or they may have evolved to survive there. We use could have in a similar way, often when we're imagining a past possibility that we can't confirm. For example, he could have been missing for days. Try describing something mysterious or unexplained using these modal verbs. A strange sound, a missing object, or an unclear ending to a film. And practice guessing about the past without stating it as a fact. Let's also go through our 5 vocabulary words from this episode. Liminal. Describing an in-between space that doesn't feel like it fully belongs anywhere. Disorient. To make someone lose their sense of direction, time, or reality. Entity. A being or thing that exists, often used when its exact nature is unknown. Surreal. Dreamlike and strange, not quite like normal reality. Dread. A strong, ongoing feeling of fear about something that hasn't happened yet. Try using one of these 5 words yourself, either to describe this film or another story built around uncertainty and unease. So, what's the final verdict on Backrooms? It's a film that succeeds far more on atmosphere than on answers. If you're looking for a horror film that explains everything neatly by the end, this might have been the wrong choice for you. But if you're drawn to the unsettling feeling of an ordinary, mundane space turned completely wrong, this is one of the more effective examples of that kind of horror in recent years, backed up by a genuinely strong critical reception. Did you enjoy Backrooms? Let me know in the comments on the video, or get in touch. If this helped you improve your English today, subscribe on YouTube, or follow along on Spotify or Apple Podcasts for more movies reviewed in slow, clear English. Interactive learning materials for this lesson can be found for free on engmoviereviews.com.